Hello there, thanks a lot for coming by PosterCentral.com's video blog today. I'm Pete Howard, and look at this from the earliest days of rock and roll. Oh my goodness, 1955. Bill Haley and his Comets with a great looking concert poster, total original window card. This just has to be a candidate for the best Bill Haley and his Comets poster ever. I think hands down. You might ask why? Well, some of it is self-evident. Just look at that design, just a killer design. I also love the fact that it's got all the original band members that were living that played on Rock Around the Clock. And it also is from 1955 in the summertime when that song, Rock Around the Clock, absolutely dominated the charts. It's just perfect timing. It was, you know, they're absolutely totally the world's first rock and roll stars. Elvis? Who's Elvis? Who's Elvis Presley? He's over on the country western charts with Baby Don't Play House that just entered as his first charting single like 4 weeks ago. So that's the country thing. This is the 1955 rock and roll explosion, of course, with that song you still hear at weddings all the time, Rock Around the Clock. It's such a, you know, it's probably one of the 10 most, maybe 5 most famous songs to ever come out of America. Now, of course, as far as this seminal rock and roll stuff, I say this with all due respect and deference to the R&B greats who'd been releasing seminal rock and roll seeds, if you will, the previous 10 years. And I've blogged a lot of their posters and given due credit, you know, speaking as a community there where it's due. But, you know, this is to the absolute total mainstream. You know, this is the poster that really represents the explosion. I don't really want to get into what was the first rock and roll record and everything. This is not the time and the place. But, you know, when you talk about Bill Haley, and by the way, I keep saying his Comets, notice how the poster says Bill Haley and the Comets, but it actually is supposed to be his. That's okay. And so it's just the perfect time in their career, right? What more could you want than the summer of 1955? Billboard magazine, notice the date on this show is August 15th of 55, up there in the venue information. Billboard magazine was weekly, so the current issue was the one dated August 20th, and Rock Around the Clock was just killing him, as I can show you with this graphic. My goodness. It's really an old-fashioned Billboard page, of course. But as you can see, #1 bestsellers in stores, Rock Around the Clock. #1 most played in jukeboxes, Rock Around the Clock. And #1 most played by jockeys, DJs, Rock Around the Clock. So, and of course the song had first been released, as we all know, in 1954. But this is, you know, at this time, the next year, the summer of 55, is when it exploded and went to #1 for 2 months, based largely on the exposure it got through the movie Blackboard Jungle. So here we have it. It is a tour blank, so that means there should be these existing from other venues, but for this one you've got at just the Pier, in giant letters, Old Orchard Beach, which was a tourist destination in southern Maine. And then you've got Monday, August 15th, and I like the way it says along the bottom of the venue information, meaning it's not part of the tour blank color portion, it was stripped in for this date only. As you can see, it says the Shake, Rattle, and Roll Boys. And of course, Shake, Rattle, and Roll had been their a top 10 hit the previous fall and their first gold record. And by the way, I said stripped in for this venue only. It's possible that the poster printer was also putting it in other dates. I mean, if you got it, you want to flaunt it. But it's interesting how the tour blank portion doesn't mention either Rock Around the Clock or Shake, Rattle, and Roll, which probably means this design at this point was you know, something like 6 months old. That would be a guess on that. And but I'll tell you, it's certainly, you know, this explosive red and black design certainly befits the rock and roll explosion that those records brought about. And as I said, that photo in the middle, it's got the 6 original members, the same, interestingly, the exact same photo session, maybe just a frame or 2 off, from the picture of the group that was used on the original sheet music for Rock Around the Clock. So that gives it really tremendous credibility. Did you happen to know, by the way, the guy who played the guitar solo on Rock Around the Clock, Danny Cedrone, it's really a sad story. He died only 2 months after cutting that guitar solo, after recording it. In the spring of 1954, he perished. So that's a shame. He never got to see any of the benefits that his solo, you know, helped create on that record. Now, down below the Comets, it's interesting. You see the opening act there is Eddie, Grady, and the Commanders. And it's kind of funny. As you can see, there's actually a song title given for them, Elephant Tango, but no Bill Haley song title. So, you know, it just says for Haley exclusively on Decca Records. And then down at the bottom there it says tour director, Willard Alexander, Inc. Now, interestingly, so this is Monday, August 15th, 55. I've got a picture of a poster, the Haley and the Comets poster, from the very day before, okay? Sunday, August 14th. Look at that, a totally different design. Isn't that interesting? I'll sort of get in here. So this is in New London, Connecticut, about 200 miles to the south, and the same photo of the band, but otherwise a completely different layout, interestingly enough. And once again, in the transient venue information up on the top, some editorializing where it says America's #1 recording stars. Now this template, a little bit familiar perhaps to poster collectors, it was used for a while by the band, and notice it does correctly say Bill Haley and his Comets. And it's got the 2 songs on there down in the yellow, as you can see, that shook the world. Rock Around the Clock and Shake, Rattle, and Roll. So for collectors, that sort of leaves a question. Which would you rather have? Perhaps not as cool a design, but listing the songs that shook the world, like a Rock Around the Clock, or a concert poster for the next night that doesn't mention the songs, but just knocks you dead with its beautiful graphics. And you can just picture this in the windows of drugstores and everything and go, holy cats, just what a sight. So anyway, that's what makes concert poster collecting fun, is not knowing on what date, what particular tour blank or poster was used, and so it's always fun to have new discoveries, and that's one of the things that's the lifeblood of this hobby, is finding new things and new information. So if you see either one of these posters from another date or another city, please kindly let me know. Just, drop me a line or send me a picture of it or something. I'd love to add to my knowledge databank on that. So, there you have it, Bill Haley and his The Comets, whichever you prefer, I guess. And boy, the band that shook the world in the summer of 1955 before Elvis came along and I guess destroyed the world, at least on a pop culture basis. So, great stuff, great poster. Nice showing it to you today. Hope you enjoyed it. Thanks a lot for coming by, and we'll see you next time for something soon. Bye-bye.